Welcome everyone to 3 on 3 Blazers. I am Nate Hanson alongside Jared Cowley, our producer Max Barr on the 1s and 2s. We're still without our man Orlando Sanchez because the Blazers are still in Oakland.
Yep.
So he is still down there covering the team. Obviously the focus of today's podcast is going to be reacting to Game 1 and kind of looking forward to Game 2. The Blazers last night dropping the first game of the series to the Golden State Warriors, 116-94. It was kind of the final spread of the game wasn't quite indicative of how close, at least scoring-wise, that game was. But at the same time, I don't know if the score throughout the game was indicative of how much the Blazers were being outplayed by Golden State.
It did seem like the Warriors were in control from the start and never relinquished control. I think it's telling that maybe the way Steve Kerr views the Blazers and the respect he has for them, you can see that in how liberally he uses his reserves.
Yeah.
I mean, he went 11 deep in that game and had no reservations throwing out his deepest reserves against this Blazers team, and I think that's indicative of what he thinks of the Blazers.
And I think, not just Steve Kerr, but nationally.
Yes.
I think that's what everyone kind of thinks of the Blazers is, it's nice they got to the Western Conference Finals, but I think if you still asked a lot of fans across the NBA who's the second best team in the West, I don't think many of them would tell you the Portland Trail Blazers. But nevertheless, they are here, and they earned their way here. But last night was definitely a stumbling block for them. What was kind of your biggest takeaway from that game?
It was actually kind of what happened after the game for me, and I think this was partly because of the kind of questions the media asked after the game. There was so much focus on the Blazers' defensive game plan, and I don't know if that was necessarily the right focus, and I can talk about that later. But because so many of the questions were about, letting Steph Curry get so many wide open threes, the way the Blazers played, the drop defense and the pick and roll, a lot of the answers from both Coach Stotts and the Blazers players were on that topic.
Yeah.
And you saw a divide between Stotts defending his defensive game plan and being kind of, I don't want to say belligerent because I don't think he was just really defensive about what they did, versus what you heard from the players. Yeah. Not just Damian Lillard, but a lot of other players in the locker room were questioning the defensive game plan and calling for big defensive adjustments in Game 2, whereas Stotts was defending it. So I don't think we've seen that kind of divide between the players and the coach.
Or at least publicly.
Right. And so that was surprising to me. And the thing is, I don't think that they're going to make huge defensive adjustments in Game 2. And we'll talk about that later. But I was just surprised at the difference in how the players and the coach answered those questions.
And you talked about Damian Lillard. C.J. McCollum, Evan Turner, I know were a couple of the guys who talked about how the Blazers seemed to make it too easy for the Warriors to score baskets, where on the other hand for the Blazers, C.J. McCollum talked about it was easy for them and really difficult for us, in terms of scoring because of the way the Warriors were trapping Damian Lillard and C.J. McCollum, basically trying to get the ball out of their hands. It was deja vu to what the Pelicans did so well last year in the first-round series. Oklahoma City, they tried a little bit, but they weren't successful at it at all. Denver, I think, was a little more successful with it. But last night at Golden State, Damian Lillard even said it was at another level. He only took, I believe, 10 shots or 12 shots yesterday. He took 12 shots yesterday. And he talked about how that wasn't him being passive. That was just
those are the only shots he was able to get.
He's not getting any open looks to try to put up shots. And so they need, and Damian Lillard talked about this, the focus for him in going into Game 2 is sitting down and having film sessions with Terry Stotts, assistant coaches David Vanderpool and Nate Tibbetts, to just try to find him a little bit of space so that either he can get to the rim or he does get a clear look at the basket, because he and C.J. McCollum didn't have any good looks yesterday.
No, they didn't. And even more so, I think, Damian Lillard. I think C.J. was able to get some good looks, especially when Steph Curry was defending him. I think that Damian Lillard, he didn't force the issue with his own shot that much. He didn't take a lot of bad shots. He didn't shoot the ball well, but he only took 12 shots. I did think he forced the issue when he was trying to create for others. And you have to look at this Warriors defense. I talked before this series started about how I don't think the Warriors' defense is elite, and at this point I still don't, but they are a different kind of defense than the Blazers have faced so far in these playoffs. They're very active, they're very good in the passing lanes, they have a lot of length, so you have to be smarter about the kind of passes you're trying to thread through the defense, because a lot of times against this Warriors defense, those passes are not going to get through.
And a lot of people talked about Lillard's turnovers. Obviously 7, that's a big number for Damian Lillard, and 21 as a team that led to 31 points the other way for Golden State. You're not going to beat the Warriors playing like that. But I'll just go back a little bit to the Denver series, because in Game 1 of that series, the Blazers had 18 turnovers in that game. And Damian Lillard had 6.
Yeah.
They struggled with turning the ball over at the start of that series, and then by the time he got to Game 7, they had that number down to 4 in the biggest game of the series. So if you're looking just to kind of pump the brakes a little bit, take a deep breath and step back and not overreact to one game, this isn't something we haven't seen from the Blazers before. And we saw in that series against Denver, they adjusted from Game 1 and found a way to win Game 2. So if you're, like I said, if you're just trying to look for something to decompress, not overreact, because that's what the NBA playoffs is all about.
Game by game,
from an analysis and fan perspective, is overreaction. As the stakes get bigger, the overreactions can get bigger, and so it will be interesting to see what the Blazers do to try to free up Lillard offensively. Defensively, do you think the Blazers will? You said you didn't think they'll do much different. How far do you think they'll take it to try to make Steph Curry and Klay Thompson a little more uncomfortable in Game 2?
Dropping the big man in their pick-and-roll defense is what the Blazers have done for years, and I don't think that they're going to change that. I mean, this is the way they've played the Warriors defensively during the regular season and the playoffs, and I don't think you want Steph Curry to have that many open threes.
No.
I think that... So 11 of his 15 three-pointers were either open or wide open, and on those he shot 7 for 11. So 7 of his 9 makes were either open, which means no defender within 4 feet, or wide open, which means no defender within 6 feet.
Yeah.
And I think that I don't think you should all of a sudden start switching or even doing a hard hedge or anything like that, because that's not the defense the Blazers play. And when the stakes are this high and you're playing a team this good, any kind of miscommunication on defense is going to kill you.
Yeah.
And if you're all of a sudden changing up your defensive scheme to a scheme that you haven't practiced, that is not second nature for the players, then you're going to have a lot of miscommunication on defense. So I think that the Blazers should remain consistent with the defense they've played. Maybe bring your big men up a little bit more than having them drop as far back as they were in Game 1. Definitely don't put Dame on Steph Curry. He was his primary defender.
Yeah.
And, Dame's a better defender than he used to be, but the Warriors have really good screen setters.
Yeah.
And Dame was getting he was dying on those
Swallowed.
screens. Yeah. And so I think that you should put someone like Maurice Harkless on Steph, because that gives a little bit more length. He's better at slipping, through those screens and contesting. Because what the Blazers want is for you drop back the big man, and then that entices on a pick and roll for the offensive ball handler to try and get in and shoot a mid-range. They want to defend the three-point line and defend the rim.
Yep.
But they were only doing one of those last night. They weren't defending the three-point line. I think that was because Dame was getting swallowed up on those picks. So you switch someone like Maurice Harkless onto Curry. You hide, Dame on Iguodala, for example.
Yeah.
And then you live with those three-point looks, because what you don't want is to open it up where with switching or even with hard hedging, where you are playing into the Warriors' strengths as moving that ball around and getting the rest of the team going. Midway through the fourth quarter last night, the Blazers' defensive rating was about 108.
Yeah.
Their defense was not the problem in this game. Yes, Steph Curry lit them up, and Klay Thompson was good but not great.
Yeah.
But the defense wasn't the problem. The offense was. If the Blazers shoot 36% from the field and 25% from three, and they turn the ball over 21 times,
they're going to get
they
swept.
give up. Yeah, they're not going to win no matter what kind of defense they play.
Yeah.
So I think the focus on their defensive issues is completely misplaced, because you're ignoring the real reason they lost, and that was offense.
Yeah, and I find it interesting that your strategy is to put Harkless on Curry. It's kind of what they did against Denver after Game 1. They put Harkless on Jamal Murray after that game. And Harkless was one of the guys after the game who talked about how he didn't think the Blazers had much of an edge last night.
Yeah.
He didn't think the intensity was what it had been against Oklahoma City and what it was at the end of the Denver series. Do you kind of agree with him? Did you see maybe a lack of intensity, a team who wasn't as dialed in as they needed to be for Game 1 of the Western Conference Finals?
Yeah, for sure. And I think there could be many reasons for that. I mean, against the Thunder were talking a lot, and both during the game and after the game and before the game, and so it's easy for the players to get up against that team and hate that team. They didn't really get up against Denver, even though they won a couple games, but it was until Denver kind of started mocking them in Game 5 that then they were like, all right, now we don't like these guys, and then they played better in Game 6 and 7.
Yeah.
And then the Warriors have been very complimentary of the Blazers. Yeah. They don't say anything outward that's disrespectful, so the Blazers don't have any reason to dislike these guys. But if they want motivation, just go read any of the national media that's out there, because they're plenty dismissive of the Blazers for good reason right now. And also, the Blazers just came off an intense Game 7, a 7-game series that was gritty and physical and mentally and physically exhausting. They had 1 day of travel, 1 day to prepare for the Warriors. You can't ignore that had an effect on the way they played.
They didn't practice. They didn't have a shoot-around before that game, and they shouldn't have. I mean, they were exhausted from a long, like we talked about before, that may have been the best series of the postseason so far. It went a full 7, and it was an exhausting 7-game series that included a quadruple overtime game in the middle of it. So that was kind of, when we were making picks before Game 1, that was my biggest concern with the Blazers. This was two-part, was would they be tired, and would they be satisfied with just getting to this spot at the Western Conference Finals? And when you hear them immediately after the game recognize they didn't have the same edge and intensity that they should have, it kind of makes me wonder if those two factors may have played a role in that. And who knows, maybe moving into Game 2, maybe, the score, the outcome of the game, I mean, they just got their butts whooped last night. And so maybe a good old butt whooping is what they need to kind of...
the right wake-up call.
To kind of put them straight here again as they try to reset for Game 2. One thing you said you think the problem was for the Blazers in Game 1, you thought it was offensive more than defensive. So going back to that, what type of offensive adjustments do you think the Blazers need to make in order to be more successful in Game 2?
I think they have to get more players around Damian Lillard and CJ McCollum that can make the Warriors think twice about sending a second or a third defender at especially Lillard. And as much as I love Al-Farouq Aminu, he's been really bad.
I'm glad you took this here, because this was definitely going to be a question I was going to ask you.
I think that you're in the Western Conference Finals.
Yes.
There's no guarantee Al-Farouq Aminu is even going to be back in Portland next season. We don't know what's going to happen in the offseason.
Yeah.
So the time for worrying about continuity and worrying about hurt feelings and worrying about anything, and I don't think that you even have to worry about that with Aminu. He's a pro.
Yeah.
He's not playing well, and I think he's not giving you that much on defense in this series. They didn't even have him defending either Thompson or Curry in that game. Yeah. So it was almost like you're hiding your best, arguably your best defender on Iguodala or Draymond. And he's not making shots, and he's not challenging the defense. So I think that you need to give him spot minutes off the bench. Rodney Hood clearly needs to be in the starting lineup because he is a three-point threat that the defense respects, and he can break guys down off the dribble. He can post guys up. He was really good last night.
He was.
So I think you need to move him into the starting lineup. I think Harkless was really good last night, played good defense. I think that moving him on to Steph Curry is a necessary adjustment, so I think he should still start. And then I think you have to consider whether you should start Kanter or Collins going forward.
Okay.
I think that that's a tougher one for me because I think that Kanter, as much as they're dropping him back because of his defensive limitations in the pick and roll, he also, he gives the Warriors problems with his offensive rebounding, and he should be able to score against them better than he did in Game 1. Yeah. He was not very effective scoring in the post, and I expect him to be better at that. So he has things that can hurt the Warriors, so I don't know if you necessarily want him out of the game. But I don't know. I think that Collins gives them a better chance. You can bring him up a little bit. You can still run your same defensive scheme, but you can bring him up a little bit more. He can hedge a little bit. He can recover. He can defend in space, and maybe gives you a little bit better chance of slowing the Warriors on defense. But I don't know. That's a tougher one for me.
Yeah, the biggest concern with playing Collins more minutes is will he be able to play more minutes because he has foul issue
right.
troubles typically when you try to extend him. I like your point about switching out Rodney Hood for Al-Farouq Aminu and replacing that because, I mean, Stotts, we saw in Game 7, Aminu didn't even play in the second half of Game 7 against the Nuggets. And last night, he didn't seem very decisive when he did have the ball. We saw him miss a bunny at the rim early on. And you have to wonder if maybe his confidence is a little bit shaken right now. And you can't have guys in the lineup right now who are trying to find their confidence. You need to have guys who are confident right now and can help you right now. And Rodney Hood fits both of those. As you said, he was good last night.
He was really good.
Of the things you could take away that were encouraging, we didn't know how he would be after that hyperextended knee going into Game 1. We didn't know how he would look. And even for a moment, it was scary. He went down, his knee buckled on one drive to the rim, and he went down and held it. But he bounced back after that and played just as well as he was beforehand. I think he scored 17 points last night.
Yep.
He and Harkless both had 17. And Harkless, one thing he was doing well offensively was when they were doubling Kanter in the low post, Harkless was typically the guy you would see cutting to the basket and finishing at the rim. And he also made a three-pointer last night, which is good to see because he has not shot the three ball well this postseason. And so I think his confidence is high right now. And as you said, defensively, he's the Blazers' best defender right now, based on how many different players he can defend. And given what Hood has done, I'm fully on board with you in putting Hood into the starting lineup. And who knows, maybe that would free up Damian Lillard to get an extra half second before a defender is right in his face for him to get up a clean look at the rim.
I think it would because Hood he was 4 for 8 from the field and 2 for 5 from 3 yesterday, but he also went to the free throw line 7 times, which shows you that the Warriors defense was paying attention to him, and he was, drawing contact. He was aggressive, and he was decisive, and like you said, that's something that Aminu has not been.
Yeah, and he just provided a spark offensively. And the one thing about the free throws is the Blazers did have a big advantage last night from the free throw line. So that was something also, if you're looking for signs to be encouraged about possibly moving forward, I think the Blazers were plus 12 from the free throw line yesterday. And given that they were, minus 30 from the three-point line, I think the Warriors made 10 more threes than them. You're never going to be able to overcome that, but at least they did have success getting to the free throw line, and the Warriors weren't there as often. So now let's move forward to Game 2.
Okay.
We've talked about some of the adjustments you think need to happen for the Blazers. Ultimately, who do you think is going to win this Game 2? It's arguably, if you want to even say arguably, it's a must-win for the Blazers, because if the Blazers drop Game 2, that puts them in a situation where they have to beat the two-time defending champs 4 out of 5 times, and I don't know how many people view that as a realistic scenario. So what happens in Game 2?
I think the Blazers are going to win Game 2.
Okay.
I don't think that I think that Stotts will make adjustments. I mean, you saw him make adjustments in Game 2 in the Denver series. You saw him make adjustments in Game 7 against Denver. I don't think he's going to just run everything out the same again.
Yeah.
I don't think Dame and CJ are going to be as bad as they were.
No.
In Game 2. I mean, Dame had 19 points, but he turned the ball over 7 times. He shot 33% from the field. CJ had 17, but he shot 37% from the field and missed 4 or 5 threes. They had 10 turnovers between them. Those two will both be better, I think. I don't think the Blazers are going to shoot 36% from the field and 25% from 3. Mm-hmm. And I also don't think that the Warriors are going to shoot 50% from the field and 56% from 3. I mean, as many wide-open looks as Steph Curry got and Klay Thompson got, they're not going to shoot as well as they did every game as they did in Game 1. Mm-hmm. They're great. They're, arguably 2 of the best shooters in the history of the NBA. But 9 of 15 from 3, maybe next game Curry makes 6 of 15 from 3.
Yeah.
And so I just think the Blazers, as bad as they played in this game, were within 6 points to start the fourth quarter. They didn't take advantage of the Warriors bench unit at the start of the fourth quarter, and then the game was over because of that. I just think that they're going to bounce back. Like you said, the playoffs, you overreact so much to just one result. The Blazers look bad in this game. The Warriors look great, but I think the Blazers bounce back in Game 2 and win.
And I am with you
on
that. I waffled on this because we all, before the series, me, you, and Orlando picked the Warriors to win the series, but in 6 games. And I think with that in mind, I think all of us thought they would steal one in Oakland to force a Game 6. And I'm going to stick with that. I think yesterday could have been a wake-up call for Portland. Just, a refresh of that. Yeah, cool, we made it to the Western Conference Finals. Great, awesome. Well, now you can stop celebrating because the other team, your opponent, just showed you this is going to be the most difficult series you're going to play.
Right.
And so I think, and you're right, the Blazers, CJ McCollum said it himself, they played terribly yesterday. They played a terrible game, and yet going into the fourth quarter, they were only down 6 points. It was a 77-71 game. And Damian Lillard, I'm with you. I don't think, I was surprised he didn't shoot as well as he did yesterday. Granted, the looks just weren't there for him, but I have a hard time believing this slump he's been in dating back to the Denver series is going to continue.
Right.
I know he's tired. He's, recognized that, he was a little fatigued, but I think he's going to fight through it. And one thing about this Blazers team is every time you think they're down
every time you
and
count
out,
them out.
every time they come back and they surprise you and they show you some character. And I can't help but think they're going to do this again. I think Golden State could potentially go into this game a little overconfident as well on the other side. And so I'm with you. I think it's going to be close. I think Portland's going to have to outscore Golden State. In order to win these games, they're going to have to. Because on the other end, the Warriors are so good offensively. But I'm with you. I don't see them shooting 36% from the field and 25% from 3. And I don't see the Warriors shooting better than 50% wherever they're shooting the ball from.
Right.
And so, I'm with you. I'm going to stick with it, that the Blazers come back and win Game 2, and we come back to the Moda Center on Saturday with a 1-1 series. Rip City is fired up, and belief is still alive.
This Blazers team it does seem like they've always played their best when their backs are against the wall, when nobody believes in them, and nobody believes in this team right now. No. And that's fine. And so they can find all the motivation they need to come out and win Game 2 and go back to Portland with the series tied. I did ask Orlando, who's in Oakland right now. I texted him and asked him for a Game 2 prediction, and he said Warriors in Game 2. So Orlando is sending this game back to Portland down 0-2.
Oh, man, and he picked Warriors in 6.
Yeah, so he must think that
Portland's going to win
both at home, I guess.
Yeah.
We'll find out when he gets back.
Yeah, I wish he was here right now so I could try to blast him on some integrity talk.
You can't blast him on integrity yet because you don't know how he foresaw the 6 games. He just said Warriors in 6. He didn't break it down anymore than that. Man. Max, we want your take.
Have you lost faith? Did you have faith?
No, I didn't have faith that they would win the series.
Okay,
I haven't lost faith either. I think if there's any game that they can win, it's this one.
Yeah.
Mainly because of the overconfidence you talked about, Jared. And the shooting woes, I think it's going to balance itself out a little bit. So we'll see.
Do you foresee any adjustments for Game 2, or do you think that they should make adjustments for Game 2?
Yeah, I think you guys made great points about Rodney Hood and the starting lineup changes. I guess I would ask you guys, do you think that Stotts is actually going to change the starting lineup?
No.
No?
I wouldn't be... you can go ahead.
No, go ahead. Finish
it. I wouldn't be surprised if he has a quicker switch for Al-Farouq Aminu if he isn't contributing right away in
short
leash for him and bringing in Rodney Hood. Or it could be like we saw at points this season where Jake Lamus early in the season would start the game, play about the opening 6 minutes, and you never saw him again. And I wouldn't be surprised if Aminu continues to struggle if that's what we end up seeing from Al-Farouq Aminu.
I think I agree with you, but I'm going to hedge on that a little bit because of what happened in Game 7 against Denver, where he changed up the starting lineup at halftime. And that's not quite the same as changing it at the start of the game.
Yeah.
But he's shown an ability, a willingness to make big adjustments like that more in these playoffs than I've ever seen from him.
Yeah.
And I think that the stage they are on demands larger adjustments, smarter adjustments, and so I wouldn't be surprised if Hood's in the starting lineup for Game 2.
I think you have to look from a Blazers perspective at Game 2 like it's a Game 7.
It's a must-win.
Yeah. It's a must-win game. And Stotts, when they were down 9 at halftime against Denver and their season on the line, made the switch. Now, it all depends. We don't know what his confidence level is in Al-Farouq Aminu. You know, we've seen him stand behind Mo Harkless through thick and thin, too. I mean, some people would call him stubborn with how much he has stuck with Mo Harkless. And now, I mean, there have been... This is probably, for Al-Farouq Aminu, the first time we've seriously talked about that with him. Yeah. In the past, it's always been with the problem with the wings. It always landed on, should Mo Harkless be the guy pulled? No one really talked about Al-Farouq Aminu getting yanked and put on the bench. And this is kind of the first time I think we're focusing in on him, and rightfully so.
Yeah. And one thing when it comes to Stotts and adjustments, he's kind of been known to do things to... The less time he gives an opponent to react to an adjustment, the better. So, I mean, the Blazers have been known to put up the wrong starting lineups on the board. Yeah. You know, so I think it's more likely to be a very short leash once the game starts than actually announce a new starting lineup. Yeah. But we'll see.
Yeah, I don't think they would announce it. I agree with you. Right. If they were going to put Hood in, it would just be something that happened.
Yeah. Okay, well, we got Max involved early. Now let's get him involved for what he's usually here for.
Guys, you know what time it is. It is time for the best podcast game ever, Rip It.
Woo, baby!
And the host of Rip It, Mr. Hall of Fame himself, Mr. Max Barr. Take it away, Max.
Oh, I don't know about that.
Mr. Hall of Fame!
That's right.
Wow.
And Mr. Hall of Fame thinks the Blazers can get this game, too, here, and even this series.
Sure.
We've got 3 of the 4 3-on-3 Blazers crews saying a Game 2 win for the Blazers.
And yet the one guy around the team is saying, no, the Warriors are going to take care of this. So I don't know if that's a good sign or a bad sign.
Orlando's always been a little bit of a pessimist. So.
Yeah, well, so have I.
And so have you.
Yeah, and I really did consider making a change, but I mean, I feel like you can't be that discouraged by last night's loss just because the score was in fact so close for much of it.
It's one game.
Yeah.
Yep.
First, I want to remind everyone you can subscribe to 3-on-3 Blazers wherever you get your podcast. And now is the time to subscribe so you can find our post-game reaction pods right in the feed, because you never know when Jared and Orlando might record one of those after one of the games.
After Game 7, we recorded at about 2 a.m. So.
Yeah. And if you're listening to the show on iTunes, please leave us a review. There you go. And now we are back with another round of the Rip It playoffs.
Wow. I haven't recovered from, gosh, has it even been 48 hours since the last one? Oh my gosh.
You have 5 chances to recover
I took a beat down in that. I'm like the Blazers, man. I'm recovering. I'm not ready for Game 1 here.
Right, after the dust settled.
I am shook.
Shook Nate is here. After the dust settled from our second round recap on Monday, Orlando's still leading the race for the Rip It championship. He's got 12 points.
Gosh.
Jared moved up to second place with 11 points.
That's not
Nate, you slipped back to third with 9 points, but you're still in it.
That's the worst news.
Totally in it.
Remember, the player with the most total correct answers during the Blazers' postseason run will be crowned the Rip It playoff champion. So, let's find out how you did in our Game 1 edition of Rip It that we just did 2 days ago.
Big money, big money.
Here we go. Were all the questions about Game 1?
Yes, they were.
Oh, man, it shows how fogged I was from doing so bad. I didn't even remember they're all from Game 1.
I think your memory will be quickly refreshed.
So. Hopefully that's a good sign here.
Woo! First question.
A little teaser.
Which player would score the most points? This was between Enes Kanter, Andre Iguodala, and Draymond Green. All 3 of you said Enes Kanter.
It's Draymond.
And all 3 of you were wrong.
Yeah, it's Draymond.
Draymond Green led the way out of those 3 with 12 points.
Oh, man.
Kanter with 10, Iguodala with 4.
16 rebounds, though.
Nobody on the board there. Next question, which team will have more turnovers in Game 1? You talked about it earlier in the podcast.
Right.
It was the Blazers.
Yeah.
Jared, you said the Warriors.
Oh, no.
I'm a fool.
Oh, gosh.
Nate and Orlando picked the Blazers, which was correct. 21-14.
Too bad.
Game 1 on you. Still.
Yeah, not a stat you want to be happy about if you're a Blazers fan, but congrats on getting that, Nate and Orlando.
Wow. I'm surprised you picked the Warriors. That's okay.
Next question, which player will finish with the most rebounds? Zach Collins or Kevon Looney?
Oh, gosh.
Jared, you and Nate both guessed Looney. Orlando went with Zach Collins.
Close,
Collins only had
4.
Collins had 4, but he had more than Looney,
come on.
who had 2 rebounds.
Oh, gosh.
Looney, you bum.
I didn't feel he played as much as I anticipated he was going to play.
That's true. Jordan Bell got in there a little bit, too.
Yeah.
All right, question number 4. Which player will make the most three-pointers in Game 1? Damian Lillard, Stephen Curry, or Klay Thompson?
Oh, gosh.
Not even close.
Yeah.
Jared, you said Steph Curry.
Okay. Yeah.
You were correct. Nate, you said Klay.
Yeah.
Orlando went with Dame.
Yeah.
Curry made 9. Thompson 3. Lillard 2.
All right, that's good.
They,
I'm on the board.
They combined for a little more than half of Steph.
And now the wild card question. This was which team will attempt more three-pointers in Game 1?
Ooh.
Jared and Orlando said the Warriors. Nate, you went with the Blazers.
Huh.
Man, this is a good one.
Blazers attempted 28. Warriors attempted 33.
Yes.
Oh, this wasn't good news for me at all. You got me all hyped. Now I'm further back than I was
I
before.
finished strong.
I apologize.
Orlando is almost unbeatable.
So, Jared, you had 2 correct. Nate, 1.
Yeah.
Orlando got 3.
Oh,
Okay,
my
I thought he had more than
Which
3.
brings the standings to Orlando now with 15 in first place. Jared in second with 13. Nate, you're in third with 10.
How can I ever catch that guy?
I'm going to have to
Seriously.
shoot like a Game 4 62 here
gonna
in
have
the
to go
final
perfect,
round
man.
to catch up.
Well,
All right.
I've got
Ready,
good
I'm
news and
focused.
bad news for you guys here.
Uh-oh.
Oh, no.
The bad news is this could be the final rip
Oh,
in
no.
the Rip It
yes, it
playoffs. If the Blazers get swept, this could be it.
All right.
Wow.
But the good news is we are once again going 10 deep.
Oh,
10
I like
questions
Awesome.
with Rip It immortality at stake.
that. Also, if you listen to me or Jared or Max, they're not getting swept.
Yep. This will not be the end.
Here we go.
We'll see. So, let's get into it. We're starting with Game 2 here. First question. Now, this question comes from an actual betting line.
Oh, wow.
The question is, who will win the first quarter? Warriors -3 or Blazers +3?
Oh, man.
So if you're picking the Warriors, they've got to
Yeah.
win the first quarter by 4 points. Orlando's going with the Warriors.
Of course he is.
Nate, what do you say?
Oh, man. This is Blazers.
All right, you're getting points with the Blazers. Jared, what do you think?
I'll go with Blazers as well.
All right. Next
It's
question.
going to be like some half-court heat three that's going to throw that all off.
Which starting backcourt will score more combined points in the game? Dame and CJ or Steph and Klay? Jared?
I'm still going to go with Steph and Klay.
I
Okay.
said the Blazers are going to win, so I'm going to go with Dame and CJ.
Okay.
I hate to pick against my guy Klay, but he only got 3 3-pointers last night. It's unacceptable.
Orlando is going with the Splash Brothers.
Of course. He's going to go Warriors everything.
Klay was 1 for 5 on open and wide open threes yesterday.
He needs to be. He needs to have someone in his face, man. It's
Yep.
just too easy otherwise.
Yep.
Next question. Which total will be greater? Rebounds by Enes Kanter or points by Draymond Green?
Oh, this is a good one.
Yeah, this is tough.
Orlando had to have gone with Kanter, right? That's his boy.
That's his buddy. He did go with Kanter.
Okay.
So who are you going with, Nate?
Kanter.
Jared?
Kanter.
All right.
I
Another
was
Kanter
wow.
sweep. We're going
Yeah.
every time it's Kanter. You guys are all in agreement.
Yeah. Well, he didn't. That didn't work last time.
No.
All right, we're moving to Game 3. First question here. Which point guard will finish with more assists? Lillard or Curry?
Game 3.
Stephen Curry, to be clear.
Yes.
So, Jared, who do you think? More
Let's
assists.
go with Dame.
Okay. Orlando also says Dame.
Do I think the Blazers are going to take a 2-1 series lead? 'Cause if I do, I have to think Dame. But if I don't, I still could go. No, I'm going to go with Dame.
All right.
So,
Sweep.
He could still get more assists than
Yeah,
Curry,
than Curry,
and they
yeah.
still lose.
Dame averaging slightly more assists in the playoffs than Stephen Curry.
Yeah.
6 to
And a lot more than
about
Seth.
5. Yeah, right, right. Next question, which team will make more free throws in Game 3? Orlando is going with the home team, the Blazers.
Given how I touted, that's something you can be encouraged about. I'm going to go with the Blazers.
All right, Jared?
I will also go with the Blazers.
Man,
Okay.
I need to start.
I don't know
going
how I'm
something
gonna make up
different. Yeah, I
ground
don't know
on
how I
that
am either. This is
Might be time to change your strategy.
Yeah.
All right, next question. Over under 3 3-pointers made by Klay Thompson in Game 3. You got to go one way or the other. You can't push.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
So, Nate?
Well, he said he's going to get Burgerville when he's in Portland.
Yep.
And I think, those Burgerville shakes, they got some magic to them. It's like the special stuff from Space Jam, so he's going to get more. Over.
All right, over. Jared, what do you think?
I think the Burgerville shake is going to weigh him down.
Oh, God.
And I'm going under.
This is a new stat here, Burgerville shake.
Orlando says over 3.
All right, see, there's my chance.
There you go.
All right, we're moving to Game 4. First question here. Which player will finish with more combined steals and blocks in Game 4? Maurice Harkless or Andre Iguodala?
Oh, that's a good question.
And their combined averages are virtually identical. So Orlando says Mo Harkless.
Of course he does.
I'm happy he said that.
Are you going with Iggy?
I am going with Iggy.
All right. Jared, who are you going with?
I want to pick Harkless, but I want to not pick the same as...
Blazers had a lot of turnovers yesterday.
Yeah. Game 4. All right, I'll go with... Now I'm going to go with Harkless. I'm just going to play it straight.
Okay.
Oh, man, Jared, you're going to cost yourself.
All right.
And remember, I can't fall behind if I'm picking the same as him, so I have to be smart about the ones that I differ with him.
So you're just going to be okay with losing by 2 strokes here? Is that what you're saying?
No, I'm riding this all the way to the win, Nate.
Oh, okay. Okay.
All right. 3 more questions. Over under 13.5 points for Rodney Hood in Game 4. Jared, we'll start with you.
You don't get know what Orlando
what does Orlando pick?
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to go under.
Nate?
Over.
Orlando says over.
There you go.
Let's see.
This one's an oldie but a goodie.
Ooh.
How many Warriors will score in double figures in Game 4?
I got this last.
So wrong
this won me. I think this question won me my very first rip it.
Yeah, but it was about Blazers.
Oh,
the same question.
Same question.
Yeah. So, how many Warriors
in
double figures in Game 4? Nate?
Man, this is a tough one because we don't know if Durant's going to be playing either.
True.
He could be playing in that game.
Yeah, the Warriors only had 3 players in double figures in Game 1.
They're big 3 without Durant.
And it was almost a foregone conclusion, but you guys, I don't think you mentioned it, but Durant is out for Game 2.
Yes.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, that is official?
Yeah.
Okay.
He's been ruled out.
Okay. Yeah, they're not going to bring him back.
And he was supposed to be reevaluated tomorrow, Thursday, but today they just went ahead and ruled him out.
I think he's going to miss a lot more games.
I think unless the Blazers push him and force him, I think he may miss the entire series.
Yeah.
So
with that in mind,
will he be there in game? Will he be there to score in double figures in Game 4?
4.
4. Okay. Orlando agrees with 4.
Oh,
I'm going with 3.
3. Okay.
I was thinking 3 before all that happened. So.
All right. Go with your gut.
Yep.
Wild card question. Could be the last question of the Rip It playoffs.
Oh my gosh, of the Rip It season.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh man.
What a year.
What a year.
In which of the next 3 games will the Blazers score the most points?
Oh man.
2, 3, or 4? Nate?
Oh gosh, Orlando. He didn't say 2, and that kind of makes me want to say 2 because I know Orlando wouldn't.
I bet he said Game 3.
I know, that's what I'm thinking too. Game 2.
Orlando says Game 3.
Man, I'm also going to go with Game 2.
Game 2?
Yep.
Okay.
So we're either going to make a nice run and challenge Orlando, or he's going to blow us out of the water.
Yeah, man. He could be like Tiger.
And the Warriors sweep, and it ends right there.
He could be like Tiger on Sunday, man. Just not going to give it up. Man.
He's talented.
Well,
he is talented.
He is talented.
Yeah. He's been doing a great job on TV down there.
He has.
Yeah.
And if you want to see Orlando stuff, you can follow him on Twitter at OrlandoKGW.
Yep. He's been posting great interviews with the players.
Tons of content.
Yeah. Same on his Instagram feed as well. Jared, where can people find you?
You can find me at Jared Cowley.
And you can find me at nhands_KGW. And here we go.
Max, where can they find you on Twitter?
I'm on Twitter, at MaxNBar.
Yeah. That James Bond name right there.
Yeah.
All right. Well, here we go. Game 2. This kind of feels like the season's on the line here.
Yes. Seems like a decisive game.
Yeah. So we'll see how the Blazers do. The 3 of us in this room think they'll win. And tie it at 1-1, so we'll see how it goes.
Let's throw some optimism out there.
Yeah, let's do it.
Come on.
Let's go, Rip City.
We got this.
All right. We'll talk to you guys next time, hopefully with more Rip It questions.
Yes.